Hi everyone, Eva here. I'm the owner and founder of My Sleeping Baby, and today is Sleep Tip Tuesday. I want to continue with our discussion on sleep regressions and focus specifically on the 8 to 10 month sleep regression, which, just like every other regression, is not very much fun when you're in the thick of things. So what typically causes this regression is a huge burst in brain development for your baby. So first of all, it's very normal for babies to go through a huge burst in language comprehension. Suddenly, they're understanding so much more of what you're saying. The other thing is babies tend to go through a huge burst in gross motor development. So they're learning how to crawl, learning how to sit up, learning how to stand up, and sometimes they're even learning how to walk. So with all this brain activity happening and their wheels are constantly spinning, it can be that much more challenging for them to fall asleep and stay asleep because it's going to be a lot more challenging for them to wind down and relax the way they used to be able to. What can also happen is suddenly your baby's learning how to crawl, and it is way more fun for your baby to crawl around his crib for an hour than to nap the way he used to be able to. So all of this brain development can have a negative impact, temporary negative impact on sleep. So if you feel like you're in the thick of this regression, here are my top 4 tips for you. Number 1, remain consistent and don't begin introducing new sleep habits that you don't want in the long run. Remember, this is a phase. Phases are temporary. It's not going to last forever. And if you want your baby's sleep to return back to normal, don't begin introducing new habits that you don't want in the long run, like perhaps feeding to sleep or rocking to sleep, especially if you've already sleep trained your baby and your baby's been falling asleep on his own. It's one thing to offer your baby some extra snuggles, some extra encouragement, have to go in and check on him, perhaps encourage him to lie back down. That's all fine, but again, avoid creating new habits like feeding or rocking to sleep that only take a couple days to stick, and then guess what? That's going to be your new reality, and you don't want to have to retrain once this regression is over. So that's my first tip. Second piece of advice is don't assume that all of your baby's sleep problems are being caused by this regression. You see, if your baby had perfect sleep, was sleeping through the night, or maybe only waking up once to eat and then go right back to sleep, chances are the effects of this regression are not going to be huge. Maybe it's going to take your baby longer to fall asleep. Maybe you might be looking at an extra night waking, maybe 2 extra night wakings, but if your baby is waking up 5-6 times a night, I can almost guarantee that this is not solely because of the regression, that there are likely other things going on impacting your baby's sleep that have nothing to do with the regression. So if you are fit to be tied over your baby's sleep, just remember that the regression is likely only part of the problem, and to look at what else might be going on that can be causing night wakings, including, sleep associations, not knowing how to fall asleep on his own, overtiredness, lack of routine, etc. Tip number 3, be patient. This is a tough one. Speaking as a mom that lacks in the patience department, I know that this is not an easy piece of advice to implement. However, bear with me here because you see, as I said, this is a phase that lasts a few days, maybe a couple weeks at the absolute most. So while you're in the thick of this phase, give your baby lots of opportunity to practice any new skill that he might be working on, so that the novelty wears off as quickly as possible. This might be putting him on the play mat and letting him practice crawl around. This might be a matter of putting him in the crib and let him practice standing up and sitting down in the crib. The more practice he gets, the quicker this novelty is going to wear off, and the quicker your baby's sleep will go back to normal. My last piece of advice is put your baby down for the night a little bit earlier than usual if his sleep is suffering and he's overtired. So if your baby has decided to spend his entire nap time crawling around his crib and playing, he's going to be exhausted by the end of the day, and you don't want your baby to be spiraling into this vicious overtired cycle. So get him down a half hour earlier, even an hour earlier, to compensate for the lack of sleep he might have gotten during the day and the interrupted sleep he might have gotten that night, and hang in there there because, as I said, as long as you don't introduce brand new habits, your baby's sleep should go back to normal. So I hope this was helpful. Please like and share this video with your friends, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.